I scraped exactly 300 4- and 5-star reviews to figure out why people really loved Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. I took all the reviews, plugged them into a word counter to find some common words, and this is what I found. The first word most commonly used that caught my eye was the word fun. People thought this movie was fun. Of the 300 reviews, fun was mentioned 110 times. And I think this is a great word to sum up this movie. It's fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously, it makes winks and nods to the audience, but it still has heart and characters with depth. Sometimes movies can take the fun aspect way too far, though. Kind of like how some people at parties just take things way too far. A great example of a movie taking things too far with the word fun is Taika Waititi's Thor: Love and Thunder. Yeah. If, however, you can nail the same amount of fun as a movie like Princess Bride or Pirates of the Caribbean, then I think you've hit the sweet spot with fun. The second word used most often was words like humor, funny, and comedy. These words were mentioned 101 times. The third word most used was story. Of the 300 reviews, story was mentioned 98 times. The fourth word people used positively was the word action. People mentioned the action sequences 81 times. And finally, a word that stood out that doesn't necessarily relate to the quality of the movie was the word Dungeons and Dragons, or D&D. This was mentioned 94 times. When I looked at the reviews that mentioned D&D, they pretty much all said how they played Dungeons and Dragons and how this movie was a good adaptation of the game. So in this unique case, you had a movie studio do a game justice, since so many D&D players seem to love it. Now, one other interesting thing to note about Dungeons and Dragons is its average opening weekend. It opened at 37 million compared to Shazam's opening weekend for 30 million, and I think despite the average start, this movie is going to have the same drawn-out success as Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Puss in Boots 2's opening weekend was 12.4 million, but it ended up making 480 million at the box office. I feel like that is mostly because it got surprise positive reviews and everyone is expecting it to be bad. Dungeons and Dragons was also a movie that I think everybody thought was going to be really bad, but it's gotten really positive reviews. And I think because of this, it's going to stay a really popular movie option in theaters for several more weeks to come.